everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to sit down and talk all about banned books. Now if you're anything like me, you've probably seen a surplus of videos of creators recommending banned books, talking about them. You might be curious what even is a banned book. And today I'm going to teach you what a banned book is, tell you some of my favorite banned books, because I also want to show you that there are some books on a banned book list that are just genuinely crazy to be banned. We have talked about this on my channel before, but knowledge is power, and the knowledge that you gain from reading is a power in itself. So a lot of these books on the banned book list can be great tools and just help individuals learn. Let's get straight into it with first learning what even is a banned book. For today's little chit chat that we're gonna have, I'm drinking a cookie butter brown sugar latte. It has a lot of foam. We're gonna try this. I'm very nervous. It's not gonna be good. I literally just only drink foam. That was actually pretty good. A banned book is considered a book that has been restricted or removed from access by law or other means. Bans can be based off of political, legal, religious, moral, or commercial reasons. How books become banned is that they are challenged, and then the American Library Association will basically document the challenge itself. Now, when a book is banned, that doesn't necessarily mean that the book cannot be accessed in that country, but it won't be taught in educational settings like schools, and most of the time you won't be able to find those books in like a library or a situation in a setting like that. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to be able to buy the book if you go to Barnes, if you go to a small bookstore. This is like strictly coming from a US states sort of mindset. I do know books are banned all throughout the world in many different countries. I don't necessarily know all of the different logistics for how book bans work in other countries, but in the States, that's kind of how book bans work. Today we're going to be talking about some of my favorite books that are banned, as well as just some books that are banned that I kind of just want to bring attention to, because some of these are pretty crazy. Don't necessarily have if they are banned in certain states. If you are interested in that, there are plenty of banned book lists that you can look and research into. I do have the reasons why these books are banned that we can talk about a little bit. But yeah, let's jump straight into this, because some of these, if you are very unfamiliar with banned book lists, some of these are probably going to surprise you. The first book we're going to talk about, if you are new to my channel, this is my favorite book that I read last year. It is a brilliant book. It is a classic. A lot of people read it in high school, and I just wish more people would read it. And if there's one thing that you can take from this video, is that this is a book recommendation I think everyone should read and everyone will enjoy, especially if you are a book lover. And the book is Fahrenheit 451. Now, this is a book that directly talks about censorship. That is pretty much the main story in this world. Firefighters, instead of putting out fires in homes or in buildings to protect civilians, the firefighters are actually used to set books on fire, set important text on fire, because in this society, like, knowledge is power, and they want to control the population in this society. And we follow our main character, who is actually one of the firefighters. This book is brilliant. It is so, like, I always got scared when I would have to read classics or like new age classics. This book is so easy to read and digest and fully understand the messaging of the story. I loved this book. 100% I would recommend it if you've not already read it. Please add this to your TBR. Such an important read, especially in today's day and age. This next banned book is probably a book that you weren't expecting on this video, in this video, or on this list, and it's Harry Potter. This series is banned, which is crazy because those books, like in the early 2000s, school-aged kids grew up reading those books. Like, each of those books is meant to be read in the different years that kids are in school. So the fact that this is a banned book is crazy. And the reasons that this book is banned are even crazier. This book is banned because it contains Satanism content and anti-family values. Now, I've not actually read the Harry Potter books. I have them. My mom has her old copies that she gave to me. Yeah, Harry Potter was just one that I was honestly surprised to see on this list. Another book that you may be surprised to see on this list, but The Hunger Games. This is one of those book series that got me into reading when I was younger. I remember binge reading Catching Fire on my parents' lazy boy little chair, and the fact that it's a banned book is just so crazy. It's very understandable, especially I beg you guys, please do a reread of the Hunger Games books and annotate. There is so much, like, The world is amazing and built so well. Suzanne Collins is like a god in her writing. She is amazing. Reading it with the mindset of being an adult and just knowing everything that's going on in the world today, it is just crazy to experience those books. The Hunger Games series is banned because of its violence, offensive language, anti-family values, as well as Satanism or the occult. I don't necessarily know where that is coming from in the books. Like, I genuinely can't think of a reason that would be pictured while reading the Hunger Games series, but maybe I'm just missing something that's very obvious. But yeah, the Hunger Games books are banned, which is just crazy because those are like a rite of passage for middle schoolers. This next book I personally read, I think 2 years ago, and I kind of understand why this is a banned book, but it is a book that is very important to read, even if it is hard to read. But that is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. If you have read this book, you probably understand why it is on the banned book list, and it's more so just because of its sensitive nature and topics that are discussed. In The Perks of Being a Wallflower, this is, I mean, just part of the triggers, but the reason that it is banned is because of drugs and profanity. This book, again, is very hard to read, but it is an important read because unfortunately this is a story that real life people do experience. This next book is another book that I have read, and I read this, I want to say like 4 years ago at this point. I read this book ages ago, and this is banned in Iran, and there's been no official reason that has been given, or at least I couldn't find a reason, and the book is The Alchemist. This is one of those stories that it kind of gives you like a message of life and the reason behind life, all of these things. I think it's a book that you want to read when you're kind of going through something. At least that's when I read the book. I'm very intrigued that this is banned. Like I said, I don't believe this is banned in the States, but that really surprised me that was on the banned book list because I did read that book and I really enjoyed the book. I would recommend that book if you've not read it. I did enjoy it. I'm like sweating and drinking hot coffee is not really helping me. Next is another like 2010s classic, and this one kind of is crazy that this is banned, in my opinion at least. And this is The Fault in Our Stars. The reasons it's banned is also crazy. It's because it has 2 terminally ill kids. I don't know if just because it's a super depressing topic is maybe why. I don't really know. The use of drugs, profanity, as well as the sexual content in the book are the other reasons. The Fault in Our Stars is a pretty like mild read. I've not read that book since I was maybe 14. I don't know. It's not a book that, I don't know. Whenever I think of banned books, and I'm sure a lot of us think this, but whenever you think of banned books, you think of a book that's talking too much about the social or political state of the world. And The Fault in Our Stars is just so on the opposite end of that spectrum. I also read this book last year and I absolutely loved this book. I think, again, this is another book that is very important to read, and it's Animal Farm by George Orwell. I was about to say Lewis Laurie, but that's not the author. I've read 2 of George Orwell's books, his 2 most popular books. I've read Animal Farm and 1984. They're both on the banned book list. Personally, I preferred Animal Farm more. Animal Farm, the reason that it is banned is because it has commentary and criticisms on communism and also defamation of a Soviet leader. That one is one that I think most people would think of this book when they think of banned books. I enjoyed my time reading this book. I didn't think I was going to care that much about it, but I cared so deeply for the characters. The plot itself, you're literally following an animal farm. You're following them as they're trying to break free from their leader that they have, and they kind of create a new society, and you slowly watch it fall into a tyranny with a totalitarian leader. Such an important read, especially, you know, there are little things in that book. The last line in the last page of that book, I think one of the best endings to a book to ever exist. I know that's probably a very basic opinion to have, but that book was genuinely so great. This next book being on the banned book list is so frustrating and just upsetting. The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank is on the banned book list. I'm pretty sure everyone in their life once at least has read this book. I don't know when this got banned, nor do I know where it is banned. The fact that this would be banned in public schools is a little crazy to me because this book is one of the main tools used to teach kids about that time period. The reasons that the book is banned is because of sexual and offensive content, and also the use of the phrase, God, I really don't have words to even talk about that. The Giver is also on the banned book list. This is a book that I want to read this year. I'm right now waiting for a copy from my library. Surprised that this was actually available at my library. The Giver is one of those dystopian society books that talks a lot about censorship, a society that is trying to control the masses. I absolutely loved this movie when I was younger. I have a physical copy of the movie and I watch it all the time. And so I really want to actually read the book and fully dive into if there are details that they don't have in the movie, things like that. The reasons that The Giver is on the banned book list is because of its violence, its sexual content, the occult themes, suicide, and the use of euthanasia. The Giver is a very serious and intense story. It doesn't totally surprised me that it's on the banned book list. Again, another book that I read, I think last year. I don't know what it was with 2024 and reading just like strictly banned books, but I just gravitated towards them without realizing. I read The Handmaid's Tale. This is a story that needs really no introduction, and unfortunately, it is starting to feel a little too much like reality. One of the most horrifying but also interesting facts about The Handmaid's Tale is the fact that the author did not write anything in that story that wasn't already happening in the world currently or in the past had already happened to women or just other individuals. That is so horrifying and upsetting. If you've read The Handmaid's Tale, you understand. The reasons that this book is on the banned book list: LGBTQ character inclusion, religious extremism, and then the whole book itself is a commentary on feminism. I will have the link to the banned book list that I am even talking about. I had looked through a Goodreads list of banned books, which is kind of why I don't have the actual details of the different states that they're banned in. But I believe the American Library Association, I believe they also have a list of all of the banned books in America, and I'm sure other countries have some sort of similar tool. This next book being on the banned book list genuinely shocked me, because thinking like as an adult about this book, I don't understand why this is on the banned book list, even with the reason given. The Giving Tree is on the banned book list. I have no words for that. The reason given why it is on the banned book list is because of the sexist nature of the book and also the undermining of parental figures. I'm very curious where this is banned. The Giving Tree was banned from a public library in Colorado in 1988 because it was interpreted as being sexist. I don't have words. I'm so curious. Let me know in the comments, what were the books that you read in middle school English classes and in high school English classes? Because this was like the most common book that I always ask that question to people. It's one of the things that I find most intriguing, because obviously like education state to state is so different, but also just county to county it's so different. I grew up and I believe I read The Outsiders when I was in middle school. I think I was in 7th grade. And this is on the banned book list because of its portrayal of gang violence, drinking, family dysfunction, and the language used in the book. It being on the banned book list is kind of crazy to me because I was taught this book in school. This next one, again, I don't really have words for it. I need to go to like a Target or something and look at this book, because this book is another one of those books that is meant for literal children to read, and it's on the banned book list. This is Green Eggs and Ham. This is what I mean with when you think of a banned book, you're not always going, like there are some books that are probably on your bookshelf at home that are on a banned book list in some random state, some random city that you would never even imagine would be on a banned book list. The reason Green Eggs and Ham is on the banned book list is because of its portrayal of early Marxism, which is a social theory that examines the history of humanity through different stages of development, ultimately leading to communism. What the That book is one of them that my jaw was on the ground when I was researching for this video. The next book on the banned book list that I've also read, I read this last year and I enjoyed it. Honestly though, this is one of those stories that I couldn't really tell you anything that happens. Reading it feels a little bit like a fever dream, but that is The Bill Jar by Sylvia Plath. Now, the reason that this book is on the banned book list is because of suicide, profanity, and the rejection of the role as wife and mother for a woman. And the last book in this video that we're going to be talking about that is a banned book is one that I've not read. It's a like such a famous title that you're going to recognize immediately. And I do want to add this to my TBR. Maybe I'll try and read it this year, but the book is The Book Thief. Now this is on the banned book list because of its vulgarity as well as its sexual undertones. Again, I've never read the book, so I don't necessarily know what it's talking about or have direct reference to think back to of what I know from the book, but that was kind of crazy to me. Those were all of the banned books that I wanted to talk about today and kind of, I don't know, just bring awareness to how common banned books can be. Books are and have always been used as a tool for educational purposes, and especially in the state and climate that we are in, it is important as a reader, as someone who just loves literature, to protect reading and to protect books. If there are any banned books that I did not mention in this video, either that you really enjoyed or just more common ones that I forgot, let me know in the comments. I'm always curious to learn more about what books are banned and what reasons they're banned. That is all for today's video. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. I hope you guys are all taking care of yourselves. I know everything right now is very intense and very scary. It is very important to stay up to date with everything that's going on, but it's also important to take care of yourselves. So make sure that you're doing something good for yourself today. Get a sweet treat, get a coffee, go buy a book. I love you, and I will see you in my next video.